Hello, my friends. Today I'm here in Genesis Calendar with my Holy Bible. I'd like to read something, Bible verse in interest, and try to explain it for you. It's written in the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 18. So let's go. He says, "Truly I tell you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." Okay, let's understand that. This verse is part of a conversation where Jesus teaches his disciples about community discipline, forgiveness, and authority in the kingdom of heaven. So, Matthew chapter 18, verse 18 focus on how believers should relate to each other, especially in handling conflict and correction within the church. So, it's interesting here to understand the meaning of the word bind and loose, the two important verbs that appeared here twice. So bind it comes from the Greek and means to prohibit, restrict, or declare something unlawful. In Jewish rabbinic tradition, to bind was to forbid an action or declare it inappropriate based on God's laws. So another verb here that we saw, loose, means to permit, release, or declare lawful. To loose was allow or affirm something acceptable under divine instructions. So, try to understand the spiritual authority given to believers. Jesus is giving spiritual authority to his followers, especially leaders of the churches. This authority is not arbitrary. It must be aligned with God's will in heaven. So, the idea is that what's bound or loosed on earth must reflect what is already bound or loosed in heaven. The Greek grammar suggests that the heavenly decisions precedes the earthly one. And so, she expanded Greek grammar notes here in this video. So let's try to interpret by the theological insight. Jesus isn't saying humans get to make rules independently, but that believers are entrusted with discerning and declaring what God has already determined. So this connected to church disciplines, for example, confronting sin, forgiven, repentant member, or even excommunication. So it also implies corporate responsibility and maintaining purity, forgiveness, and restoration in the Christian community. What is the application in the church? When the church faithfully applies God's word, for example, connecting sin with truth and love, it's acting in harmony with heaven's judgment. This verse is also linked with verse 19-20, where Jesus speaks on his presence when believers gather in agreement. So, this verb forms in Greek are future perfect passives. So, will be bound in heaven, literally, will have been bound in heaven. Will be loosed in heaven, literally, will have been loosed in heaven. Okay, so this suggests that the action on earth reflects a decision already made in heaven, and the disciples are discerning and enacting it on earth. Okay, so the book of John, chapter 20, verse 23 says, "If you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven." Anyway, this was the verse today.